G'day, chaps, 'tis I, Clumbutcher139. Batman Arkham Shadow is proudly claiming that they have a brand new character as their main villain, the mysterious Rat King, a completely original character who is putting the city into chaos behind the scenes, keeping himself hidden for Batman to discover his identity before the end of the game. Sorry, I got my notes mixed up. That was actually the Arkham Knight I was just talking about, sorry. The Rat King is a completely original character who is putting the city into chaos behind the scenes, keeping himself hidden for Batman to discover his identity before the end of the game. Wait, what the hell? Yeah, if you couldn't tell, the situation Camouflaj Studios are putting themselves into with the Rat King is sounding eerily familiar to the situation Rocksteady put themselves in with the Arkham Knight. And it got me thinking about how they've kind of written themselves into a corner by doing this. Allow me to elaborate by going back in time a bit to when the Arkham Knight was first revealed. Back when Rocksteady were doing press tours for Arkham Knight, they were proudly proclaiming that they were given the opportunity to create their own original character as the main villain.
The Arkham Knight is a very significant new character. We've designed him at Rocksteady as a completely original and new character.
And they kept mentioning that fact, that the Arkham Knight was a completely original character and players would be surprised when they unveiled his mask.
He's a very significant character. It was very exciting for us to bring a new character into Batman's world.
The Arkham Knight is a brand new character in Batman's universe, and it's been a real honor to be able to design a completely original character in collaboration with DC.
But players were a bit smarter than that. Everyone who knew anything about Batman comics knew right from the first reveal that the Arkham Knight was Jason Todd. And those of us that didn't, like myself, knew they needed to make an already established character in order for him to work in the series. So we ended up theorizing that he was a character like Joker or Quincy Sharp or even Ra's al Ghul at one point. Because we knew they couldn't just make this completely new character without him being at least a little bit established in the Batman mythos. See, claiming you created a new villain for a comic book story kinda backs you into a corner writing-wise, because it means that you have two options. Either you make this villain a character that already exists, hence making the Arkham Knight Jason Todd, or you write in a brand new character who will eventually be revealed as the twist villain, hence Quincy Sharp in the rest of the series. Whichever situation you put yourself in, though, you've either made it incredibly obvious who the character will be, or end up picking a character with no established lore and need to write it in so it doesn't seem like they came out of nowhere and the twist ends up meaning nothing. Which brings us to the Rat King. Which direction do you think they're gonna go? Established character, existing but not important character, or new character? Either way is going to hurt them in the long run of the story. Consider they make the Rat King a character we already know in the saga, like, I don't know, let's just throw a guy on screen for example purposes. Sure, let's go with that. If they did that, it would feel like they lied to us. Because they didn't create an original villain for this game, instead only throwing on a veil of novelty before revealing that it's someone we knew the whole time. Even if it was someone else like Scarecrow or Ratcatcher, who are established to be in this game and be important to it, it would still feel like the same cop-out, because we were led to believe that this new villain would be an original character, and suddenly he's just not. This happened with the Joker reveal in Arkham Origins. We were led to believe we'd be getting a new character in Black Mask. Then, at the halfway point of the game, it's revealed that it's actually been Joker pulling the strings the whole time. So we felt lied to, since all the marketing for this game had Black Mask at the forefront and made us think we were getting something other than what we got. And that same problem could apply to the Rat King. Having us go through the whole game only to reveal that it's a character we already knew about and saw multiple times in our playthrough will just feel hollow, like they weren't confident enough in doing something new with a new character, so instead had to resort to using something we all knew for memorability purposes. Now, what if he's revealed as a relatively unknown character who has some lore sprinkled throughout the saga, but not nearly enough to be considered important yet? There are a few characters people are theorizing could be the Rat King that have already been established in the saga, but who frankly just aren't important enough. Characters like Alberto Falcone in Anarchy. Both of these characters have only made incredibly small appearances in Arkham Origins, and especially in the case of Alberto, haven't made the biggest impact. Alberto only got a single scene worth of screen time plus some audio tapes, and Anarchy only got a small side mission and reference in Arkham Knight. If these characters were suddenly revealed as the big bad, there would be a small few who would recognize them from Arkham Origins and appreciate the twist, but a whole hell of a lot more who have no idea who they're looking at. So they would need to take time setting them up in the game we're playing so that players know who they're dealing with, which would ultimately lead to the exact same scenario that we just had with Jason Todd. Jason simply didn't exist in the Arkham saga prior to Arkham Knight, so the team had to do a lot of writing to make his presence known before suddenly revealing that he was the Knight. I have a feeling they're gonna have to do the same thing with the Rat King, where they show off this otherwise unused character to the saga enough to establish that he's important, but in doing so, they shine a massive spotlight on him that no player is going to be able to look away from, essentially setting him up as the twist that everyone is going to know by the time it comes up. Which means that when he's revealed as the big bad and Batman is suddenly surprised by this great revelation, we're all just gonna tilt our heads like, really? The answer was literally right there the whole time, Bruce. So while they do technically make a new character to the saga, and even to an extent introduce a new one by bringing in this unused asset from a previous game, it won't feel like a satisfying reveal because we've already figured it out. And then there's the final option. The Rat King is a completely original character under the mask who we will truly be introduced to in this game and this game only. Well, the problem with that is that it requires introducing a brand new character. The Arkham saga has been very faithful to the outside Batman media, only introducing a grand total of 2 original characters that had significant roles in the plot. Those being the meme man himself, Officer Frank Balls, who was killed off before he could do really anything noteworthy in the plot,
Officer Balls,
and Quincy Sharp, who was mostly relegated to background activities, as he took on the political side of the story, which we don't get to see outside of the written city stories. And while he does have a massive impact on the lore of the series, he never made a big mark on the actual story as it was playing out. Every other major character had made their first appearance in a different medium. Aaron Cash, Cyrus Pinckney, Lady Shiva, Jason Todd, all of these characters existed prior to the saga. Only the ones who ultimately don't matter to the immediate story were important enough to be made original characters, aka Quincy Sharp. So if Arkham Shadow was suddenly going to introduce a brand new character as the main driving force of the plot, they would need to do a pretty good job introducing him. He would need to make an appearance as his unmasked self at some point in the game, and if he wasn't an already established character, or even was one but wasn't a very well known one with only a single comic appearance, he's gonna stand out as a glaringly obvious target to point fingers at. So unless they also introduce half a dozen other original characters to throw us off the scent, it's not gonna work. And even then, it'll still be obvious that it's one of them, which will completely take us out of the experience. The simple fact is that they can't do it. Introducing a new character to the saga when we've already got 4 other games worth of established ones just won't work. Because we'll just be left wondering, why weren't they important enough to bring back later? Or, give a file in the Arkham Knight GCPD, something like that. Now, there is a secret 4th option in all this that I am desperately hoping for, and that's for it to simply be a well thought out twist with a character we aren't expecting but still makes sense and is satisfying when it's revealed. The problem is that I just don't see this as a real possibility because of the corner they've written themselves in. They're dealing with well-established characters with over a decade worth of game lore behind them, and with how much we already know about all these characters, it most likely can't be someone we aren't expecting. They can't pull something crazy like, oh, it was Gordon the whole time who was brainwashed, because that would be a really important plot point for future games that would just have been completely ignored for some reason. It can't be Alfred, Robin, or Barbara because they're all too important as Batman's allies in this game and the rest of the series. It can't be Joker because I really hope they respect us enough to not do another Joker twist. It can't be Harley or Scarecrow because they have their own things going on and their own special gimmicks, which are not in line with the Rat King's beliefs at all. It can't be Harvey Dent's Two-Face origin story because that story is already established in the audio tapes as the one we all know, where Maroni threw acid in his face on the stand. It can't be a character like the Wrath, who's another commonly theorized character, because he isn't established at all, and they'd have to go out of their way to set him up like they did Jason. It's truly an impossible corner that they've written themselves into. Every character you can think of has something holding them back from being the one behind the screen. So with all that said, who do I think the Rat King is going to be? Honestly, I don't know. But I have my personal theories, and to an extent, wants, for who I believe the Rat King should be. I have two people on my radar, each with good reasons behind why they should be, but also why they probably can't be our guy. Number one is Ratcatcher himself. It seems like an obvious twist if I'm honest, but one that could work with the right setup and payoff. Having Ratcatcher locked in Blackgate yet still masterfully controlling everything right under everyone's nose would be great. However, the team has heavily implied against this being the case. They said that they wrote in Ratcatcher based on his appearance in the Arkham Origins sequel comic, where it shows that he was up for one of the assassin positions against Batman and was a devout follower of Black Mask. So seeing him revealed to be Joker was a punch in the gut to his beliefs. Now, seeing a new person to follow, preaching his beliefs, and even following his rat symbolism inspires him to keep going. The fact that they put so much effort into explaining the current relationship between Ratcatcher and Rat King implies to me that they aren't going to be the same character. Furthermore, Ratcatcher is not a big shot in the Arkham series. If it's revealed that he was able to spark a massive revolution in Gotham from the confines of his prison cell no less, he would be up there among the great supercriminals in Gotham, not a lowly goods salesman trapped in Arkham City who eventually gets fed to Penguin's shark. It just isn't in line with the character we come to know in the series, so I find it more unlikely than not that he's going to be the Rat King. Number two, and who I personally think would be the best fit for the Rat King, Anarchy. Anarchy's beliefs are perfectly in line with the Rat King's. The poor, oppressed citizens of Gotham rising up to the big man and fighting back. He recruits people in places of seemingly mediocre power. Janitors, tellers, maintenance workers, all people you don't think of holding much power, but who know a lot more than they let on because of what they have access to. The Rat King's forces are people who, as he says, come from nothing and have nothing. The lowly common workers who want to rise up against oppression. There's also the pig motif, which I'll admit isn't exactly an uncommon thing even in this saga, but with Anarchy it's especially noteworthy, because he literally has a large drawing of a pig in his lair to represent the greedy, corrupt higher-ups, just as Rat King has a pig drawing appear on his screen when he's talking about the cops. They even have their followers wear personalized masks similar to their own, which again isn't exactly a big revelation for Arkham factions, but honestly, look at the similarities between these two guys both wearing their masks with hoods. These are just regular people who took whatever was hanging up in their closet out for a night on the town and just threw a mask on. Not dedicated criminals who joined an established major crime organization. It also makes sense lore-wise. We know from Arkham Knight that Anarchy was taken in by the government, but we don't technically know if it was specifically after his incident in Arkham Origins. Arkham Shadow takes place only 6 months after Arkham Origins, and we know thanks to Cold Heart that Anarchy's followers are still active even after he's taken in. They still believe in his cause and him, and are ready to fight the moment he's out of prison. In such a short time span, it's very likely that someone on the inside was able to help break him out and get him into hiding. But knowing how quickly the police, and especially Batman, would be on his case after Christmas, he adopts a new moniker and keeps himself far more hidden. Then, when he's eventually caught and subdued at the end of this game, he's now racked up double the charges. He's committed mass acts of terrorism twice now, so the government knows he isn't to be taken lightly and takes him in themselves. That would explain why he flat out disappears after this point in the timeline, and would be a solid arc for his character set up in Arkham Origins, where he begins to think that he and Batman could work together, before realizing that he's part of the problem and doubles down on his beliefs, except with Batman no longer being a part of them.
You ever wonder if you're the reason the city's so messed up? Because I have. A lot of us have.
This is very much in line with what we've seen from the Rat King, who believes Batman is ultimately accomplishing nothing by punching down at those who have nothing.
You punch down, we rise up.
He even broadcasts his message via televisions behind a mask, just as Rat King's only appearance so far is as a modulated voice via wavelengths on a television screen. And if you listen closely to the tiny pieces of Rat King's voice we've gotten, it sounds an awful lot like Anarchy's inflections, just a little modulated. I can seriously hear the same kid in both of these messages, can't you?
The corrupt system has failed you. Are you not angry? Fight back!
They won't act. I will. At Dawn's first light, the sources of Gotham's ruin will be destroyed.
It's genuinely the most perfect pick that, while writing this script, I realized how perfectly it fits and now is who I'm expecting to be revealed by the end of this game. It's genuinely a perfect pick for the character, assuming everyone playing is a die-hard Arkham fan. See, the problem with this theory is that Anarchy just isn't well known enough. His only appearance is his side mission in Arkham Origins. Being exclusive to Arkham Origins is bad enough for an unknown character's reputation, but also being exclusive to a side mission that not a lot of people played anyway is even worse. And his comic and other media appearances aren't exactly that much better, considering his wiki page is only a few paragraphs long, and his only other appearance is a single show from 2013. So this ultimately means that if this review were to go through, a good amount of your player base just won't know who he is. Imagine someone playing Arkham Shadow as their first Arkham game. With it being a VR exclusive, I can see that being the case for a good number of people. Or even in the more likely scenario, where people have played the Arkham series, but they've not played Origins because it just isn't readily available for the common player. It's still stuck a whole 2 generations behind on consoles, so the likelihood of someone playing it is very low. In that scenario, they'll reach the end of Arkham Shadow and see this random kid take off his mask and reveal himself, and we'll just end up having a Star-Lord moment.
I am Anarchy.
Who?
Even people who played Arkham Origins and played his side mission probably aren't gonna know who this kid is, because honestly, he's pretty forgettable unless you stayed and listened to his 3-minute speech after. He only goes without his mask for a single cutscene, so seeing him again probably won't elicit any memories unless he literally says that he's Anarchy. Which he would have to do because I literally needed to look up that his name was Lonnie Mackin on my own time since they don't state it anywhere in game except the character bio. They would need to do something to set him up in the game so that other players who know little to nothing about this character can learn about him, but do it in an organic way that wouldn't make it obvious they're setting him up like Rocksteady did with Jason in Arkham Knight. If I were writing this game, this is who I would go with, but I can also see the problems they would run into if they did, which makes me think that it's less likely than it might actually be. So Camouflaj are in a weird situation here, the same one Rocksteady put themselves in nearly a decade ago with Arkham Knight. They introduced a quote-unquote original villain and now have kind of written themselves into a corner. How are they going to go about it? I have no idea. But I genuinely hope that they can surprise us all with a great twist that we don't see coming. As long as they can do a better reveal than Jason as the Arkham Knight, I'd be willing to call the story a success. But we'll just have to wait and see. In the meantime, do all the YouTube stuff, because seriously, I didn't realize how well Anarchy fit until I actually wrote this script. I swear it's gonna be him, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later, chaps.